call this meeting to order at 6:30. Can everybody please stand for the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Laura, could you please note the board members and admins present? Next, we have approval of agenda. Board, you have an agenda in front of you. Are there any changes? May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll support.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Just,
Aye.
I can't hear it all. We move the mics closer.
Does that matter?
Nothing.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, sorry, 5-0. Thank you. Next up, we have the consent agenda, which includes approval of minute meetings dated January 15th, 2024, for the regular board meeting, February 5th, 2024 for our special board meeting, and February 5th, 2024 for the committee of the whole. Approval of accounts payable in the amount of $843,711.72 for the month of January 2024. Approval of the treasurer's report dated January 31st, 2024 with a balance of $8,802,165.65. And then approval of the new hire and resignations and retirements.
So we had announced that Sue's the high school special ed had retired to resignation, so she's retiring. And then we're going to say goodbye to Ms. over there. She has, as I indicated to you already, she's taken another position. We wish her well. And then we're excited that we have a couple of new paras. I know that Sean has been short some title paras this year, so he's excited about that. Julie Moss, some of you know, is our kindergarten teacher, and she's back doing one-on-one with intensive kids. Amanda Osterling, I believe, is special ed at your building, Mr. Sean?
Yes, she's in our.
All right. And then you're probably like, Rhonda Smith. So Rhonda, the new law allows someone to come back after 30 days if the district isn't able to find someone to fill that position. I know Amy reposted. I think he had one app, but just didn't have the experience. And Rhonda was saying she was willing to help out for this semester. So nice that we have someone coming in who knows the role. So, and that's it, I think.
Next up, we have reports, community input on agenda items only.
We have to.
Sorry. At this time, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Next up, we have reports, community input on agenda items only. So at this time, if you would like to speak on the agenda items, please state your full name for the record, and you will be limited to 3 minutes. Nobody?
No problem.
So next up, we have celebrations, the middle school celebration.
So I have two of the middle school students here, Aaliyah Buckner and Riley Whaley, and they were kind of voluntold right now. We asked them if they'd be willing to come demonstrate. So let me give you a little background. We, as you guys know, have received grant money through the ECJV partnership, and some of that grant money has been able to go towards really beefing up our STEAM curriculum at the middle school. So one of the things, and Teresa's going to talk a little bit more about the curriculum work that has taken place in the area of STEAM, but I'm just going to have these girls demonstrate something that they've learned how to do. We were able to purchase these coding robots with the grant money from the ECJV grant. And I was told by their teacher that they did an exceptional job with these, so that's why I asked the girls to come demonstrate for you. And they are still getting set up. Do any of you have any questions about the grant or the robots or anything? They're going to be more qualified to answer those than I am. But
How many robots were you able to purchase?
so I was able to purchase, let me think how many come. I got a set of 16 of these. So typically kids work in partnership. So 16 is considered like a class set. I also was able to purchase these Sphero. They're, I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, but if you Google them, they're these little sphere-shaped robots that I actually haven't seen those in action yet. But we had a consultant come in. This is probably part of what Teresa was going to cover, but we had a consultant come in from KRESA, Tina Tribune, to support our teachers with how to incorporate some of these things in the class. And she has sets that we can check out, but we were actually able to purchase our own, which was really exciting. I haven't locked the drones. Well, I'm also going to be able to purchase some drones, but I haven't been able to purchase those just yet. Right, Philip?
So I'll just add then, we're just doing some K-12 curriculum alignment. So you'll remember that DREAM was something that took place in 5th grade last year, but because the kids in 5th grade go to STAR-based, we decided to bring DREAM into 4th grade so that we'd have a capstone project for Brenda to do with kids exiting the middle school, and then they would have STAR-based when they go into 5th grade. So we took a look. We're kind of in the process of doing an inventory as to what curriculum we're using. We had a full day with Tina Tribune in the morning. The teachers were the students, and Tina kind of guided them through being able to try the robots, practice coding, flying the drones. So we really wanted to increase teacher capacity and comfort around using those things. And then we've just had some initial conversations about what that looks like in practice and what units they're going to do. I want to highlight Kim Jankowski and her willingness to take on some robotics in that arena, and so that's been a missing component for us, and we're really excited that she's agreed to take that on. So we're excited about the partnership. There's a lot of great work happening, so I just wanted to add that. That's my update.
Okay, Aaliyah and you're still on. Can I just grab? I know it's not. Since we can record.
Amy, I just wondered if you would, not everybody remembers what the dream was, or Teresa's, like, 30 seconds kind of, elevator speech, what it is.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a project-based learning structure. And so within that partnership, we start with training the teachers in like the structure of that project, there's driving questions. So ECJB just last week sent to Brenda and myself 4 questions that those classroom teachers will have. And the kids then are going through the process of brainstorming solutions to that and just creating a prototype then. And the cool thing, we said, we're always about improving and making it better, and ECJB has agreed to then take the strongest prototype out of each classroom and build it with their 3D printer. So then the kids will get a chance to kind of display their efforts this spring, which you'll all be invited to. And so Brenda has taken on a lot more this coming year in terms of like calibrating and all of those STEAM parts of the process. And the classroom teacher will be supporting a lot of the presentation skills and how to share the solutions both with all of you, the community, and ECJB. So it's a good partnership between the classroom teacher and then the STEAM teacher. And then we'll have these prototypes and celebration at the end.
Are you guys ready?
So what we did first is we set up because there's certain cards, so we set them up and then they're gonna run it. Okay, so for the third one, you put a green one right here and a purple. And then you put a green, a yellow, and a red.
So can you guys show them like what these cards are and what they do?
There's some sort of cards that are like go faster, speed down, stop, have a dance party, and then there's some like turn right, turn left, go a little bit to the left, turn a little bit to the right, and then there's this one, and it's like 90 degrees to the left, 90 degrees to the right, and then there's certain ones like speed down, like go faster.
How do you program it to follow the colors that you're telling it to, or go left or right, all that?
So it reads like the colors, and then after it reads the colors, it like figures out what to do. And we have to we have to there's certain ones that like go after it goes on one of them, then it'll go on the next one, and we have to like make sure that it's all on course, or it'll like go off in it, and it'll like go.
So I did ask them to think about like how has this been beneficial to you as a learner, and they both had a response to that. That's number 3.
The robots have made it come to life.
It helps you learn how to use a computer.
All right, thanks you guys.
Then next up we have the Above and Beyond Award.
I think somewhere in this room we have Deputy Murphy. Can you come up on the stage, please? Yeah, what grade are you ladies in? I can't remember. Oops.
What grade do you get?
Sixth, okay. And who is the teacher in that class, the STEAM teacher?
Haley Hawks.
Haley Hawks. All right. Thank you for that. Nice job. And we really are appreciative. I want to just say that again. Eaton Cummins brought us out, and we did a kickoff again because it had been a couple COVID hit and we're trying to recalculate. And they have just been wonderful celebrating our middle school where we have new teachers at the helm. And they okay, can we get some help as to what we're doing? All right. So each month we talk as an administrative team and we say, who in our community has really gone above and beyond and that we would like to honor at a board meeting. And so it feels good to be up here doing this again. So Deputy Murphy, as you know, has been our school resource officer for this year. And I think over in Climax Scotts, Doug was superintendent was asking me, we just have him all by ourselves, and I said, absolutely not. It wasn't going to happen. And so I'm going to read a piece, and then I know that Sean wanted to say something too. All right. So we are so thankful to have a school resource officer in GA this year. In August of 2023, Deputy Matt Murphy joined the GA and Climax Scotts school teams. In the short time that he has been a part of our team, he has built relationships with administration, staff, and students. Deputy Murphy attends after-school events, including sports events and dances, and even his best mate back there is willing to come, so we appreciate that. I'm sure all the kids know who she is. He does a fabulous job ensuring safety. It's been a big part of our safety meetings, or when we have a concern about safety from our students, etc. And also when there's been some conflict. And I understand at the high school you're the favorite lunch supervisor. I can believe that. Sean, do you have, I know you were going to say something real quick about the role, or Amy, that Mr. Murphy's been able to provide in your buildings.
We just wanted to say that we were extremely thankful for Deputy Murphy for being present in the mornings and when he can be in the afternoons. And then he takes the time when he's there to go out in the hallways. He greets our kids. And it's just a positive influence for them to see an officer in our building, and for some of the kids to see his smile and to know that police officers are safe. And he does an awesome job with that. So thank you so much.
And that was a big goal, as you remember talking as a board, is that building that relationship back between police officers and kids and families. So, Amy?
I just want to add that as a brand new principal, I have probably gone to him with more questions than he would have ever anticipated someone could have. So I just appreciate your guidance. You're always a listening ear. He catches me at the end of the day sometimes, and I'll have a story or a question for him. So I just really appreciate you. I also know when he comes in my building every morning, he walks around, he makes sure all of our doors are secure. He's constantly just, checking things out, making sure that we're good to go. And that's just really a, nice peace of mind to have too. So thanks, Matt. We appreciate you.
Yay. Round of applause. And we have two little gifts above and beyond for your, if you're allowed to put it on your, and then a nice pen. What the rules are. Let's grab a picture.
No, I'm good.
No.
Come on, you.
And is there anything though?
Yeah, I was going to say
Nothing.
That's weird.
The family usually does join in.
Or to So just don't.
Don't get the skirt.
very nice.
All right. Matt, anything you'd like to say?
Sure. Not that I prepared anything. No, mostly I just want to say thank you to Wendy, of course, and the board and the GA community for entrusting me and allowing me to have this position as a cop. This has been the most fun and rewarding position that I've had in my career thus far. I can think of 20 names at the top of my head of people that are more deserving of an award like that because there are some seriously hardworking people in this district. But again, just thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
I would like to call a 5-minute recess so everybody can congratulate the middle school students and Officer Murphy, and they can leave if they would like, or they're more than welcome to.
If I didn't hear you,
Okay, I just said that. Now it's
but broke.
There you go.
we're working. Okay. I just said we can take a 5-minute recess to congratulate Officer Murphy and middle school students, and they could leave if they wanted afterwards, so they weren't interrupting the meeting. Yeah.
Thank you. Good job. Yes, good job, ladies.
Good job, ladies. That was very good and hard.
How's your
Oh, it was 10-10. That's her first one. So he wrestled.
I've got your presentation ready to go. We're going to be out from there. We're up here, so
What do you think would work best?
I think it might work best.
Up here, okay.
Yeah, that's why I asked you. I was like, thanks for introducing us. Thank you. I didn't walk down there. I figured I just didn't call you.
Yeah, you guys moved on.
Thank you, Jessica. I didn't walk down the stairs. I appreciate you. Yeah. I appreciate Let's father daughter.
So my microphone is officially dead.
Maybe tap it because it tapped itself off. You know, like give a
Hello.
There you are. You're back.
Okay, next up we have Philip with a business finance report. Or, I'm sorry, Diana with a business finance report.
Diana, I look good, but not that good. Okay, we can do that. We had our first of the year finance committee meeting on February 1st. We went through our fund balance and where we're at. I know Philip's going to go into more specific details. We are lower than we projected, but it's for very good reason. So I'm very excited we were able to make a adjustment to our teachers' contracts where we wanted our lowest step to start at $40,000. We were successful at doing that now, and that's really exciting. We reviewed our food service, and so that was one thing we discussed, and our contractual changes to our custodial staff where we brought them all in-house. One cool thing with custodial staff, we thought it would potentially have a shift in cost this year due to bringing it in-house and buying things, and we actually we're under budget on that this year so far, so that's kind of cool. Good things that are all going on in GA, which is exciting to see. And our next one is tentatively scheduled for May 22nd. And Philip will definitely go into more details after.
Thank you. Thank you. And then we have Philip with the 2023-2024 budget amendment presentation.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes. All right, so we're going to be looking at the revised general fund budget and a food service budget tonight. And just go to the next slide. So this is the general fund budget. There's 4 columns of numbers. The farthest on the left is last year's actual results as audited by Yo. Then is the original budget that was approved by the board in June of 2023. The revision that we're looking at tonight, and then the difference column is the difference between the original budget and the revised budget. So you can see that revenues increased by about $1.2 million from the original budget. Expenses increased by about $1.6 million. So overall revenues are exceeding expenses by about $410,000, putting fund balance at $1,738,534, which is about 10.1% of budgeted expenses. And we will go through some of the details here in the next set of slides. Start with this graph. It just simply shows general fund revenues, which share of the revenues are unrestricted, and that share that is restricted in use. So meaning you've got grant or special ed funding, that kind of thing. So it's restricted for use in that way. So 62% versus 38%. And this can vary district to district. This is some of the other districts I work with, a little bit more heavily weighted on the restricted side, and that has to do with the fact that our special ed funding is more significant than some other districts. We have the Eastern Service Area that we're the fiscal agent of. Our 31N6 funding, which funds social workers that work throughout the county. So some of those things make it so it's weighted more heavily on restricted funding. Go to that next slide. So this graph, or these 2 graphs, account for about 95% of that total unrestricted revenue that we were just looking at. It makes up about 55% of total revenue, so a little over half of our total revenues are essentially calculated from the people count, which is the graph on the left-hand side, showing that trend line over the last 10 years or so. And then on the right-hand side is the per pupil foundation allowance. This is the primary state aid. And this graph shows that change from one year to the next in the foundation allowance. So you can see in recent years, it's been in that 500 to 450 range. In 23-24, we were at $458 increase. You can see the total amount is just below the year label on each column. So right now our per pupil funding is $9,608, so just short of $10,000. That's all I need to say on this graph. So now we'll start looking at some of the specific changes, starting with revenues. Again, we're looking at original compared to revised budget. So you can see that the local revenue increased by about $156,000, primarily due to additional property taxes flowing into the district. And that's a result of property values going up. It doesn't have any impact on the bottom line for the district, the general fund, because property taxes are deducted from our foundation allowance before the state sends our revenue. So property taxes go up, state aid goes down. So there's no impact on the bottom line. The other things that are impacting the local revenues is interest earnings. We're bumping that budget up. Interest rates have stayed high, as you know, and so we invest our excess cash on a monthly basis in, ways that we're allowed to by state law, and so that's resulted in additional investment earnings. We're adjusting daycare tuition down just about $9,000 there. State revenue line, this is obviously our biggest source at about $11.7 million. It's increasing $640,000. Again, we see that property tax number coming down. There's several categoricals spread across there. Again, these are all, for the most part, restricted sources of funding. The UAAL amount, you'll see this throughout this budget presentation. It is money we get received from the state that helps fund the unfunded portion of the pension plan. So we get that revenue in. It's about $700,000 in total, and we turn right around and we pay it into the retirement system, the same amount. So again, there's no impact on the bottom line. The other amounts are all grant funds. The 31A funds at-risk program initiatives. Section 97 is our school safety grant that we got last year. Those are carryover funds. The 22L transportation funding, $130,000. That's new this year. That just goes to help cover the cost of our transportation system. 31AA, similar to 31A, it funds additional incremental mental health supports for students and staff. And then you can see the foundation allowance. We increased that $40,000 from our original budget.
So one of the things I just want to say is, at this point the governor has released her budget. And then, of course, eventually we'll hear from the Senate and the House. A little bit disappointing is the superintendent's had a conversation because not everything that's here and was given to us this past year are back on her budget. And you've probably heard that now she's talking about universal pre-K and then getting community college. So we're pushing to have more safety dollars. We also talked about the need for more to get the mental health continues. So as we hear more, we may need to make some phone calls to make sure that the budget doesn't suddenly take another turn. Okay, just wanted to let you know, that's the first part of the system. I don't know, Philip, if you had any more about that, but we're definitely seeing a direction change after we just were feeling good about our budget.
Yeah, we have a slide in here kind of starting to take a glance at next year's budget, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, kind of how we're looking. Federal line, we're not quite done with that slide yet. Federal revenues up about $132,000. This is primarily due to the ESSER 3 funding. This is the last year that we'll be utilizing that funding. That's the COVID era funding. Excuse me. Then other revenue sources is kind of where we get any revenue that flows through the RESA, the ISD is accounted for here, and also the transfer for indirect costs from the food service fund. We're reducing that budget by $18,000 as we made the switch to a food service management company. That impacts how much we're legally allowed to take in an indirect transfer. So we'll maximize that out, but it is less than years past. Now we can move on. So when we start to look at expenditures, just want to remind the board that it did not include any salary increases, the biggest of which was for the teachers group. So this shows you we had a step increase, and then we had that collective bargaining agreement settlement November 8th. that included some raises as well. So that was about $500,000, and we'll see that throughout several lines of the budget. So the first set of expenses here that we'll look at are kind of grouped together. These four are really focused on the areas that provide direct, program or instruction support for students and staff. So basic programs is really anything that happens inside the classroom for the most part. And you see there the $293,000, it's that kind of net increase in compensation. And then you'll see this throughout, I won't keep repeating it, but you'll see an increase in costs for the UAAL. We had the revenue increase, and now we've got the expense increase. Added needs, this is where most of our special ed costs are accounted for. Any programs that are providing additional supports for students who are at risk is accounted for here. So we have special ed teachers, special ed paras. Again, that UAAL is in there. Pupil supports would be counselors and social workers. And again, that 31N6, we're using that funding. We're acting as the fiscal agent for that, so we're paying the people who provide those supports in multiple districts throughout the county. Instructional staff supports. We have an addition of an early childhood special ed supervisor that was not included in the original budget. So we're budgeting for that person. And just a reminder that any special ed costs that we're able to report at the end of the year, those are fully reimbursed, again, through those three sources of funding. There's two state sources, and then there's the KRESA special ed millage. So we're able to pay for all of those expenses through those sources.
I'm sorry, what was that additional staff position?
Early childhood special ed supervisor. And again, I think that's a position that supports multiple districts. Is that correct?
Yeah. We had that before, right? The person left.
All right, the next set of expenses are really the kind of support functions. There's functions that support all of the instruction, all of the added needs that are being provided to students. So we start with general administration. This is the supervisor's office, the superintendent's office, Board of Ed costs. It's increasing about $40,000. That's compensation, and also the cost for the superintendent services, the interim superintendent Chris, who is here. Business, fiscal services. Again, central office compensation is the primary reason for that increase in costs. Operations and maintenance. So, we got some funding for school safety, for an SRO. Those are accounted for here in this function, operations and maintenance. Central services, this is where most of our non-instructional technology costs are accounted for. So, the tech support, and we've got some software that was added. Athletics, coaches' compensation increased. We added middle school costs for middle school football. This was not added as a team this year, but there will be some costs near the end of this fiscal year that need to be budgeted. And then the cost of officials is increased.
What is the cost of coaches increasing that?
Some of it would be from raises. I don't know if there's additional. Sometimes there's, JV teams that weren't there the year before. I don't know if there was anything like that was added.
That's quite a bit of money. Okay.
This Next slide. So this is just a slide that kind of compares our maintenance and custodial costs. Last year's actual, when we had a third party who was providing the custodians, and the cost that we now have budgeted for custodial staff that we've essentially hired directly. They're paid through Edge staff, but they're directed by Frank and the maintenance staff. So cost is comparable. It's good to see that we haven't increased that budget line. This next slide takes a little look at 24-25, with the fund balance going from about 13% down to about 10%. I think it's important to kind of step back and say, okay, what does next year hold for you, for us as a district? And there's two pieces of revenue that we're not budgeting for in 23-24, but they relate to expenses that we're budgeting for 23-24. And that's that second and third line there, and it has to do with our special ed funding. Remember, I mentioned that our special ed costs are fully reimbursed. Some of that funding lags when we incur the expenses. So as our special ed costs are going up, which they have this year, we have about $1 million from the year before, some of the additional revenue is lagging, and so it's about $420,000 in revenue that we're not seeing until next year. So those are two big pieces to keep in mind. On the side of revenue that's will not be in next year's budget is that ESSER 3 funding, $121,000. And then the last line in that table talks about a likely added expense, and that is step advances will be automatic for teachers next year. And that's about $151,000. So that would be an added cost that we know now what that cost would be. So that nets to about $158,000 impact on it's a positive impact on the budget for next year. And then that last section, I'm showing what fund balance might look like if everything stays the same, but including those budget impacts that I've listed there, the 4 up above, but everything else stayed the same, including pupil count. So what would our fund balance be with, X increase in foundation allowance? So I start with 0 and I go to 300. And then you can see what the estimated fund balance might be with that scenario. 11% to about 14%, depending on the foundation allowance and other funding, that may or may not come through. This is the last slide focused on the general fund, and this is just a trend line over the last 10 years of where fund balance has been. The red line is as percentage of expenditures, and the blue bars are the total dollar amount, and with some explanations of increases and decreases. The last slide is a look at the food service fund. We don't always adjust the budget mid-year for food service, but there's been significant change from our original budget. Our original budget assumed that a food service management company would be in place, but that the employees would remain as Galesburg-Augusta employees. And as you recall, when we put together that agreement with Chartwells, we left it as an option. Employees could make their own choice as to whether they wanted to stay as GA employees or become Chartwells employees. And they've all made a decision to become Chartwells employees. So that changes the budget significantly. Salaries and benefits dropped over 0, and contracted service number goes up. So that's all that's happening there, really. We've increased the revenue side because we now have universal free lunch through state aid. And our federal reimbursement has gone up, and that's primarily due to just a number of increases in meals served. So as we serve more meals, we can make those claims against the federal reimbursement. So revenues are up, expenses are up as well, but the bottom line is improved about $40,000. Fund balance stays kind of in that 30% range, 30 to 31, and that's healthy fund balance, but it doesn't get us into that excess fund balance category where you have to put together a spend down. That is all I have on the budgets. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Philip.
Next up, we have the curriculum and instruction update by Teresa Kate.
I included it in your packet.
Thank you, Teresa. Annuity and service plan for the 2023-2024.
So this is on here just know that our updated continuity of service has gone on the website under the transparency report. It really is just a leftover from the pandemic where we had to put out there our goals, etc. And so it looks exactly pretty much like last year's, and this will be the last year that we have to do that. But just so you know, it's on the transparency report.
Next, we have business items for discussion and monthly budget discussion.
Yeah, there's really nothing to report other than, we don't have, it's comparing year-to-date actual to the original budget. So next month we'll see the revised budget. So percentages compared to prior year should be more in line. So this time of year, it's always tricky until you get that revised budget in place.
Thank you, Philip. Okay, next up we have communications with public participation. Does anybody wish to speak? Hearing none, we'll move on to business items for decision. First up, we have the 2023-2024 amended budget. At this time, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to adopt the 2023-2024 amended general fund budget as presented.
I'll support.
Board, at this time, is there anything else to discuss? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Under that amended budget, we also have the food service amended fund. If I could have a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to adopt the 2023-2024 amended food service budget as presented.
I'll support.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, Galesburg-Augusta Foundation Board of Trustee appointments. So we have Joyce Chase, treasurer, or trustee, sorry. Her new term is through December 31st, 2026. Barry Gray as a trustee with his new term, December 31st through 2026. And Dale Martin also as a trustee through December 31st, 2026. And We also made a change. Laura Wilkes is now the board representative for the foundation, and Christy Corsi is going to be the representative for the PRC committee. I would entertain a motion. Yeah, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the appointments and or reappointments of the Board of Trustees for the Galesburg-Augusta Schools Foundation as presented. I'll support.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion carries 5-0. So next up we have the, there's no, well, we don't have a bar for this, but the MASB Board of Directors election. I don't really know what this is, except I want to talk about it at our board meeting.
Is it were we supportive of the emails we've received?
We have Janice Holtz. Region 1 has a vacancy as no nominations were received. What region are you? Voting in regions 5, 6, 7, and 8 will take place via an online ballot. No local districts, ISD funds can be used to campaign for the seat. To help the board make an informed decision, the following pages contain background information on the state appointments. So we received emails from several candidates. Does anybody want to have a discussion about what candidates they prefer? So I'm going to say that we table this and get more information.
Do you have a timeline we have to?
I will follow.
Wednesday, March 6th.
Okay, so we can talk about it at our PAL.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, they got emails from all of us.
Welcome.
Next up, we have communications, board comments.
Yeah. Fun thing first, my little lady is in preschool and participated in her first school dance for father, ties and tiaras, and she had a lovely time. So I appreciate everybody that helps put that together. That is a really cool thing to bring our community together, and all the little videos I got of little girls dancing was very cute. Side note, I was off recently for surgery, so I was able to attend some online classes for the board workshops, which is really cool. So I was able to participate in 3 different ones. They were entry level. I've taken others, but this is for the official order of events. Majority of the classes discussed roles and ways to stay in as board members versus a superintendent or admin individuals. It went through ethics and how we are to look at that and perceive those and understand that. I also went through the finance class, and that did a lot of updating, especially if you didn't have any background in financing, of saying where things come from, general fund balance versus others, and how the School State Aid Act came together. So, yeah, that's what I did.
Laura, do you have anything?
And over the winter, conference online, I took 4 classes. I'm working on the PowerPoint little thing that I'll put in our board drive, so you guys can kind of see like the takeaways that I got. And then I took another class, civilian somebody I should have written down. But I'm going to do a little slide presentation with just the takeaways from those 5 classes. So look for those in our board drive.
Thank you. Christy?
Yeah, just very quickly, over that winter webinar series, I was able to do 2 of the classes. I took one on, what was it called? The impact of AI. I won't really set anything out on this. This was more of just a cautionary thing to not shy away from AI. A lot of teachers have a fear of students using it to cheat, but they say it's actually pretty detectable. There's different software and different things out there that help you detect that. But mainly it was just, just saying be open to it, that it could be a very useful tool for education. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it. You kind of ended up taking the same one, right? Yeah. So it's just mostly remain open to it. And then the other one I took was parliamentary procedure, which that was a lot. So look for some updates in your email as well.
Nate, do you have anything? I took some classes as well. I took the board president 2-day workshop 1 and 2. I thought it was very beneficial for me. Talked about working with the superintendent, legal issues, meeting management, and then of course working with the board, onboarding, which we need to do, board development and team building, and the structure of boards. We talked about engaging your community, creating a strategic plan, which we are in the process of, getting feedback, district-wide communication, and then they talked about board turnover, which is a problem, understanding yourself and others, and board spokesperson dealing with the media. Part of that is I took the DISC profile, which we're going to do together as a board at the COW meeting, which I'm very excited about. And then I took the AI class. And I've been playing with AI this weekend and having so much fun with it. And then building a healthy and safe school. That was very interesting, very emotional. I had officers from Columbine speak, and then a mother from Sandy Hook share very important information, and then they provided like the 6 questions that we as a board should know about our safety plan. So I'll share those out with everybody. And then I know Shay and myself and Wendy are taking the Removing Bias from the Board table on March 14th. I had my follow-up meeting with the GAEA. I think that went really well. And then I just want to take a moment to thank Chris for stepping in Wendy's absence and helping us. And I want to welcome Wendy back.
Yeah, I'll start out that way too. It's nice to be back. That was far longer than I had hoped it would be, but I'm feeling good, and I think we're almost to the end. I also want to thank Chris Rice. I know he's not here. I also know that how much he complimented our administrative team, how quick they work so well together, and also how well they immediately offered to help when there was something that they could do that possibly came up. So I thank them, and also the central office team. He also received a lot of support from them, I know, and So I'm on 6 hours now, which is not enough when I used to work 10. But looking forward to the day that it'll be full time. So, and then there's a couple other things. We had count day. We're just starting to look at preliminary numbers. Fortunately, the biggest pot of the dollars aren't from spring. We're probably going to be somewhere from 10 to 15 down from where we were in the fall. Sean has shared a little bit. Families just moving out, right, Sean? They're just moving, and not because of GA, but just life circumstances, families. And then we Avondale Hutchins Powell each year in March we have tended to have applications from high schools, and we do those interviews. We'll work with Jessica. That is the date of, sorry, I haven't got the acronym yet for the new survey. Disc profile, sorry. And so we're doing that. So I'm going to work with Laura and the high school. We'll get out the applications for this one. And for those of you who haven't participated, it's a fun part. It's a fun time. So we'll just get you dates and information. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that we, are going to get at it in April, I guess is what I want to say. Probably a special meeting, yep. Doesn't take more than an hour, but, and depending on how many applicants we got. I think last year it was like 7, is that right, Laura? Or 6? Yeah, it was a lot, so we were excited about that. All right, that's it. Oh, nope, there's one other thing Jessica asked, and I know many of you do, so I'm glad she did. There was a posting for what's called a TC, or teacher consultant. It's kind of an odd title, right? So I think it was 2 years ago, we had a teacher consultant 50-50. I think it was Parchment, forgive me if I forget which district. She was then offered a full-time at that district. So then this year, we've been using Jen Schicky, who mostly is doing Climax Scott's work. It's not working its best, right, Lindsay? We really need someone more here. And so Molly and Lindsay asked if they could go ahead and post for a full-time. I'm assuming, Lindsay, it's for next year, correct? Yep. And so it's not a new position. It'll be a little expanded. However, again, it doesn't, all those dollars are reimbursed. And I'm glad you asked that question.
Obviously, the student count is very preliminary, and we would not get count, obviously, for sick individuals. But is there a way we can get those numbers, too, for students that, because I know a lot of stuff's going around.
Oh, yes. There's a whole opportunity for several weeks to get those kids to count.
Okay,
yes.
Good.
I mean, we're talking families who just, are not
That's
here.
what I want to know.
Yep, absolutely. There's a process for that.
Thank you.
We track it down.
We hunt them in.
We really do. We get every kid who's sick or hasn't been there, we get the notes. The secretaries are phenomenal and tracking.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. I'd like to adjourn the meeting at 7:33.